Did you know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. If you just heard that in Bette Midler's voice, you already know where this is going. And if it made your chest tighten a little, that song has been played at funerals across the world for 35 years and shows no sign of stopping. Directed by Gary Marshall and released by Touchstone Pictures in December 1988, Beaches follows the lifelong friendship between two women who couldn't be more different. Bette Midler is C.C. Bloom, loud, relentless, and absolutely certain the world owes her a spotlight. Barbara Hershey is Hillary Whitney, composed, wealthy, and the only person alive who can stand C.C. for more than an hour. They meet as 11-year-olds on a boardwalk in Atlantic City and stay friends through jealousy, careers, a man they both want, and a disease that slowly takes everything. But the story behind the film? Almost more dramatic than the film itself. The song that defines this movie was rejected by Kenny Rogers, Barry Manilow, and Bette Midler before it won 2 Grammys. The actress playing the dying friend accidentally launched the modern lip filler industry, and the movie, famous for destroying you emotionally, was specifically made to be less devastating than the original cut. Stick around for number 1, because the most famous song in this film was banned from the Oscars, and then Bette Midler walked onto that stage anyway. You'll want to see how that ends. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe, grab some tissues, let's get into it with number 15. Number 15. The film has 11 different titles around the world. Here's a fact that reveals just how universally this story hit, and how differently different cultures tried to explain it. Beaches wasn't called Beaches Everywhere. Depending on where you were watching, the same film was released as Forever Friends in some markets, Throughout Life in France, Girlfriends in Germany, The Friends in both Greece and Denmark, Eternally Friends in Spanish-speaking territories, On the Beach in Russia, Song on the Beach in Turkey, and the one that really commits to the emotional thesis, Deeper Love Than Sisters in Taiwan. Deeper Love Than Sisters. That's not a title, that's a therapy session. But here's the thing nobody mentions. It wasn't even called Beaches during production. The working title throughout filming in 1988 was Remember Me, according to multiple trade publications cited in the AFI catalog. At some point, the geography became the title, and Remember Me was quietly retired. Though given how the film ends, Remember Me might have been more honest. It certainly would have been more accurate. What the 11 different titles collectively reveal is that no single word captured it. The friendship was the point. The beach was just where it started. Every territory reached for a different angle on the same story. And the one that landed closest to the emotional truth was the Taiwanese title that basically said, "This is closer than family." Number 14. The story got rejected 4 times before it became a film. Before Beaches was a film, it wasn't even a novel. Iris Rainer Dart, the woman who invented C.C. Bloom and Hillary Whitney, wrote the whole thing as a screenplay first. She pitched it around Hollywood. Nobody bought it, not one studio. So she did what writers do when the industry won't listen. She turned it into a book. That was 1985. Publishers weren't racing to sign it either. They told her it wasn't commercial enough. Dart's first novel had already been a bestseller, and that track record finally got Beaches into print. It became a New York Times bestseller almost immediately. Then Paramount Pictures optioned the film rights. Progress, right? Except Paramount sat on it, and eventually let the option lapse entirely. Touchstone Pictures stepped in and picked up what Paramount left on the table. And here's where it gets even more absurd. So, stay with me. Dart was then asked to adapt her own story into the screenplay for the film. She turned that down too on her husband's advice. He told her Hollywood would change the things she loved most, and she'd spend the whole process miserable.
Are you always like this?
No.
Good. Then you can stay.
So, the woman who invented C.C. Bloom and Hillary Whitney didn't write a single word of the screenplay for their own film. A different writer handled it entirely, rejected as a screenplay, nearly rejected as a novel, abandoned by one studio, then adapted without its own author. 4 doors slammed before anyone let it through. One $57 million phenomenon walked through anyway. Number 13. C.C. Bloom is literally 3 real people blended into one. Here's something that'll make you see C.C. Bloom completely differently. Iris Rainer. Dart based the character on herself, on Bette Midler, and on Cher. Not as a loose inspiration. All 3 deliberately layered together into one person. According to a 1985 Los Angeles Times report cited in the AFI catalog, Dart confirmed CC was built from all three of them. The Cher connection came directly from Dart's own career. She spent years in the 1970s writing for The Sonny and Cher Show, and working alongside Cher every day gave her a front-row seat to what she later described as a no-holds-barred, outrageous person. Someone who walked into rooms like she owned them, who had zero apology about any of it. That chaotic, unfiltered energy became the seed of CC. Then Dart folded in Bette Midler, her genuine real-life friend, and herself. Three women, one fictional disaster. So when they went looking for someone to play CC on screen, they cast the actual person one-third of the character was based on. Bette Midler playing a role built partly on Bette Midler. That's either very brave or very efficient casting. Either way it worked, because that's what you're watching every time CC demands a spotlight, throws a tantrum in front of a talent scout, or says something so selfish you laugh anyway. Number 12, the studio said nobody would care. They made it anyway, and took $57 million. When Bette Midler and her partners at All Girl Productions decided to make Beaches their first film, they were told it wouldn't work. According to Gary Marshall's 2005 DVD commentary, the prevailing studio wisdom was that nobody would care about women's friendship. Audiences simply wouldn't show up for a film centered on two women's relationship. Marshall took the film on anyway. The version he inherited was even darker. He said it was originally not a happy movie at all. It was much sadder than that. And that he was brought in to add warmth and reshape the ending, which he called a whole messy thing. So Marshall found the comedy, balanced it against the grief, and gave the friendship its heartbeat. The result was a film critics called manipulative and predictable. Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 stars. On Rotten Tomatoes, it sits at 41%. The audience didn't notice. Beaches grossed $5.1 million in its first wide weekend and finished with $57 million in North America, landing at number 15 on the year's box office list, right between Willow and Rambo 3, Marshall later reflected. A lot of people went, men and women. And so, now women are rising to great positions, and they run most of the studios now. The film they all dismissed is still the one people call their favorite movie of all time. Number 11. 3 actresses passed on Hillary, before Barbara Hershey got the part. Before Barbara Hershey played Hillary Whitney, the role had been through Hollywood, like a game of hot potato. According to a February 3, 1988 Hollywood Reporter, brief cited in the AFI catalog, Sissy Spacek was offered the role of Hillary first. She passed. The search opened wider. Ann Archer came in and auditioned. Donna Mills auditioned too. Neither landed it. By the time Hershey's name came up, the role had already been through multiple rounds, but her audition had its own problem, and it started before she'd said a single word. Bette Midler, who was producing and had meaningful say over casting, had left the room before they could read the scene together. So Hershey auditioned for the role of CC Bloom's on-screen best friend, the most emotionally central relationship in the entire film, against the director's assistant reading Bette's lines. The feedback came back. Something was missing between Hershey and Bette. Hershey's response, as she later told reporters, "Did you tell him it was Bette?" She got the part. And once they actually shared a set, the chemistry was immediate and completely real. They became genuine friends during production, lived near each other for a stretch after filming wrapped, and met for dinner regularly for years afterward. Midler described Hershey as almost otherworldly. Hershey later said, "You see people do a double take at us, and that's fun. I'll always love her." Turns out what was missing was just Bette. Number 10. The lead single flopped completely. The song they barely promoted conquered the world. When Beaches opened in December 1988, the song chosen to promote both the film and the soundtrack was Bette Midler's cover of the Drifters' classic Under the Boardwalk. It matched the movie's opening scene. It nodded to the title, the obvious choice. It peaked outside the Billboard Hot 100. Almost nobody bought it. Meanwhile, the other song, not released as a single until February 1989, 2 full months after the film opened, started quietly climbing the charts as audiences came home wrecked and went looking for the music that had done it to them. Wind Beneath My Wings hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in June 1989. It won Grammy Awards for Record of the Year and Song of the Year in 1990. It became the most played song at British funerals, according to a 2002 UK poll. More than 200 artists have recorded it. The song they bet on went nowhere. The song they barely bothered to push owns an entire generation's grief. And here's the final twist. Wind Beneath My Wings wasn't even written for beaches. It was a 1982 Nashville composition. That made it completely ineligible for an Oscar nomination for Best Original Song. So, the most emotionally devastating piece of music in the film, the one that made people pull over on the way home, couldn't even compete for the award that would have honored it. The one they promoted flopped. The one they overlooked conquered the world. Number 9, Kenny Rogers, Said No. Barry Manilow, Said No, Perry. Como recorded it got blocked by his own label. Before Bette Midler ever heard Wind Beneath My Wings, the song had been rejected so many times it should have given up entirely. Nashville songwriters Larry Henley and Jeff Silbar wrote it in 1982. Their publisher Bob Montgomery slowed the demo down into a ballad. Then they went looking for artists. Kenny Rogers passed, Barry Manilow passed. For a full year, literally nobody would record it. Roger Whittaker finally cut a version for a 1982 album. Then came Sheena Easton, Lou Rawls, Gladys Knight under the title Hero, and Gary Morris, whose 1983 country version reached number 4 on the Billboard Country chart and won Song of the Year from both the Academy of Country Music and the Country Music Association. A genuine country hit. Still couldn't cross over. Then Perry Como recorded it for his final studio album in 1987. He loved it. He wanted it released as a single. RCA Records refused. Como was reportedly so furious he vowed never to record for RCA again. The label blocked what could have been his signature farewell. 2 years later, a woman who would also initially refuse the song recorded it for a movie soundtrack, and it became one of the most played pieces of music in history. Kenny Rogers passed, Barry Manilow passed. Perry Como was blocked by his own label, and Bette Midler's first answer was also no. No is apparently just the beginning of every great song. Number 8. Bette Midler refused to record the song. The story of how Wind Beneath My Wings ended up in beaches starts with a piano facing the wrong direction. Mark Shaman, Bette Midler's longtime music collaborator, had loved the song for years. When Beaches went into production, he was convinced it was right for the film's emotional climax. The problem was Midler herself. Her first response was a flat refusal. Too sentimental. As she told the London Times in 2009, "When I first heard it, I said, I'm not singing that song." Shaman had a plan. He invited Midler, director Gary Marshall, and producer Bonnie Bruckheimer to his Los Angeles house to hear it. He sat at the piano, but the piano faced the wall, so he performed the whole song with his back to the room. When he finished and turned around, all 3 of them were in tears. The song's place in the film was locked from that moment. Then came the battle to actually get Midler into a recording studio. She described how it finally happened. "The friend who gave it to me said, 'If you don't sing it, I'll never speak to you again.' So of course, I had to sing the damn song." That friend was Shaman. The threat worked. The Grammy-winning anthem that defined a generation almost didn't exist because the woman who recorded it thought it was too much. Number 7, 4 months of auditions, a wig, brown contacts, and then Bette Midler scrapped all the choreography. Mayim Bialik was 12 years old when her parents sent letters to agents describing her as a Bette Midler and Barbra Streisand type. She was not a redhead. Her eyes were blue-green. She was almost certain she was about to be eliminated immediately. 4 months of almost weekly auditions later, she had the part. The physical transformation required a red wig and brown contact lenses. In a 2018 anniversary post on her website Grok Nation, Bialik described it. "With a wig and brown contact lenses, Bette's eyes are brown, mine are blue/green. I was transformed into a pint-sized version of Bette Midler as Cecilia Carol C.C. Bloom." But the transformation wasn't finished there. Both Gary Marshall and Bette Midler had full approval over Bialik's performance, including the choreography for her opening musical number. A professional had designed the whole sequence. Midler watched it. She didn't like how elaborate it was. She scrapped it entirely and restaged the scene herself. As Bialik wrote, Bet didn't like how elaborate the initial choreography was of my singing/dancing number. She herself redid it and taught me the moves you see in the final movie. Anne Bialik didn't even sing. They wanted a voice that sounded like young Bet, so they used someone else's. The face is Bialik's, the eyes are contacts. The voice belongs to someone else. Every single move was staged by the woman she was playing. 4 months of auditions to become someone who wasn't quite her. That's movies. Number 6, the boardwalk scene. Wasn't in Atlantic City. Anne Bialik had never lit a cigarette in her life. The opening flashback places 11-year-old Cece Bloom smoking a cigarette under the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's a perfect character detail. Kid performing for nobody, already unbothered, already doing something she absolutely shouldn't be doing. Here's what was actually happening on set. Mayim Bialik had never lit a cigarette. She had no idea how. The prop cigarettes were herbal, not tobacco, and according to Bialik's 2018 anniversary account, her mother was present on set throughout filming to help manage the practicalities of a 12-year-old handling props she'd never touched in her life. Also worth noting, that scene wasn't filmed in New Jersey at all. The Atlantic City boardwalk sequence was shot at Brighton Beach in Coney Island, Brooklyn. According to the AFI catalog and the film's production records, the main location settings are scattered across California and New York. Hillary's house was filmed in Pasadena, California. The beach house scenes, which feel like somewhere on the California coast, were actually filmed at Cottage 13 in the Crystal Cove Historic District at Crystal Cove State Park. Not one of the film's main location settings is where the story says it is. Atlantic City is Brooklyn. The California coast is Crystal Cove. The child smoking under the boardwalk is a 12-year-old newcomer in a wig and contact lenses who couldn't light a match. And yet, it feels more real than almost any film you've seen. That's the whole mystery of it. Number 5, Barbara Hershey's collagen lips accidentally launched the modern lip filler industry. Here is the most consequential behind-the-scenes decision in Beaches, and it had nothing to do with the script, the music, or the direction. Barbara Hershey was 40 years old when she was cast as Hillary Whitney. The role required her to play the character from college age through her mid-30s. To appear younger, Hershey visited Beverly Hills plastic surgeon Dr. Lawrence Coplin before filming and had collagen injected into her lips. Nobody planned what happened next. Hershey's fuller lips received enormous media attention. According to published reports at the time, almost as much as the film itself. Tabloids covered it. The audience noticed. Suddenly, lip enhancement wasn't a whispered procedure. It was a dinner table conversation across America. A peer-reviewed history of injectable fillers published in medical literature directly credits this moment. The paper states that collagen injections became the rage following the movie Beaches in 1988, and names Hershey specifically. Then the surgeon himself added the detail that makes the whole story even more unhinged. Dr. Coplin later said on record, "Barbara Hershey came to me when shooting Beaches, and we gave her fuller lips by injecting collagen, but she didn't tell me her character would wear red lipstick." The lips drew maximum attention because a costume decision amplified them beyond anyone's expectation. What Hershey intended as a quiet age reversal technique became a national tabloid story. A film about female friendship inadvertently launched a cosmetic trend that reshaped Hollywood beauty standards for the next 4 decades. And counting. Number 4, the trailer called Barbara Hershey, an Academy Award nominee. She wasn't. Before Beaches was even released, the promotional materials made a claim that was factually false. The original 1988 theatrical trailer introduced Barbara Hershey to audiences as, and this is real, Academy Award nominee Barbara Hershey. She was not an Academy Award nominee, not in 1988, not at any point before Beaches. Hershey received her first Oscar nomination in 1997 for The Portrait of a Lady. 9 years after the trailer ran in cinemas across the country, calling her something she wasn't. What Hershey did have were 2 consecutive Best Actress awards from the Cannes Film Festival, for Shy People in 1987 and A World Apart in 1988, back-to-back years, which is a genuinely remarkable achievement almost no actress has matched. Critically respected, internationally decorated. None of that is the same as an Oscar nomination. The studio just said it anyway. Now, here's the irony. Beaches itself received exactly one Academy Award nomination. Not for Midler's performance, not for Hershey's, not for direction or writing or music. The nomination went to production designer Albert Brenner and set decorator Garrett Lewis for Best Art Direction. Number 3. The director cast himself, and snuck in his lucky charm. Gary Marshall had a system. In all 14 feature films he directed, he found a way to cast Hector Elizondo, his longtime friend and good luck charm, the man he'd met on a basketball court in 1978 when Elizondo hit him in the face with a bad pass, and Marshall said, "Terrible throw, but you're a terrific actor. I have a movie for you." From that moment, Elizondo appeared in every single Marshall film, including Beaches, even though Elizondo didn't want to be in it. He later said plainly he didn't like the film. Marshall put him in anyway, uncredited, because the streak mattered. Elizondo obliged, as always. He once described Marshall calling him, with almost no notice, fresh off a flight from Europe. "Welcome back, Hector. I need you for a minute." He improvised a Portuguese sea captain on the spot for Overboard. Beaches got an uncredited appearance from a man who'd told Marshall directly it wasn't his kind of film. Marshall also cast himself. He plays the audition director in the scene where young Cece tries for her first break and loses it to a prettier, less talented girl. Number 2. Idina Menzel called it career-ending, and Bette Midler tweeted she couldn't watch the ending. When Lifetime announced a 2017 remake of Beaches starring Idina Menzel as C.C. Bloom, the reaction was exactly what you'd expect. Devotion defended, nostalgia mobilized, Twitter activated immediately. Menzel felt all of it. She told reporters she'd turned the role down multiple times. Her exact words to Attitude magazine: "I said no to doing the film a few times because I love Bette Midler. I love the original movie, and I didn't want to set myself up for failure." Then Bette Midler tweeted. When the casting was announced, Midler wrote, "Can't wait to see Idina Menzel as CC in Lifetime's Beaches." Then added 4 words that carry more emotional weight than anything in the actual film. "Don't tell me the ending." This is the woman who produced Beaches, who played CC Bloom, who has lived with this story since 1988. She gave the remake her public blessing, and then announced she personally cannot bring herself to watch the ending happen, even to someone else, even in a different version, even almost 30 years later. Idina Menzel said yes and took the role. Bette Midler has presumably still not watched it. Number 1, the most famous song in the film won 2 Grammys, and was banned from the Oscars. Wind Beneath My Wings is one of the most decorated pieces of popular music in history. Number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Grammy for Record of the Year, Grammy for Song of the Year, the most played song at British funerals, recorded by more than 200 artists, and it was completely banned from competing at the Academy Awards, because the song wasn't written specifically for Beaches. It was a 1982 Nashville composition that 8 other artists had already recorded before Midler touched it. It didn't qualify for the Academy Award for Best Original Song. As Songfacts confirmed, it wasn't eligible for an Oscar because it wasn't written specifically for the movie Beaches, the most emotionally devastating piece of music in the film. Ineligible. Beaches received 1 Oscar nomination, for The Furniture. Then, in 2014, the Academy invited Bette Midler to perform at the Oscars for the first time in her career. She stood on the stage of the Dolby Theater in front of the entire industry, the same industry that had once said nobody would care about women's friendship, and sang the song the Academy had never been able to nominate. She sang it after the in memoriam montage, for the names on the screen, for the people in the room, for everyone watching at home who'd ever lost someone and reached for this song because nothing else fit. When she finished, the Dolby Theater gave her a standing ovation. The song nobody wanted, the Oscar that never came, the standing ovation that did. And there you have it. 15 facts about Beaches that go a lot deeper than the cry you remember. Here's what stays with me. Every single piece of this was contingent. The screenplay failed. The novel was nearly rejected. Paramount let the rights lapse. The studio said nobody would care. The director was brought in to soften a film that was already devastating. The lead promotional single barely registered. The song that ended up defining a generation was one the woman who recorded it refused. until a friend threatened to end their friendship to get her into a studio. The actress cast as the dying friend showed up with a brand new face, accidentally launched a cosmetic surgery trend that reshaped Hollywood for 40 years, and still delivered one of the most genuinely moving performances of that decade. Which fact hit you hardest? Let us know in the comments below. And hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Until next time.